Hey guys, welcome. Julie here. Today is gonna be a really exciting one because I'm gonna be starting a vlog of some sorts of me reading Criminal by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. I am gonna be reading the whole thing, volume 1. Not really sure how long that's gonna take, but it's gonna include spoilers and just my raw thoughts and emotions on the story that's being told. So yeah, I'm excited. I haven't done a reading vlog in like a while. I think the last one was Crime and Punishment. It was my first and last one. It was Dostoevsky. It was huge. So yeah, I'm really excited to do this one. So yeah. Okay guys, so right now I am in the first book, which is Coward, and it's essentially giving us a rundown on the characters and their past. So right here we have Leo and we have Seymour and his friend who is in on the job, who wants to steal some diamonds, and Seymour is explaining to his crooked cop friend that that Leo is essentially a coward and all he does is run away from his problems, but they need him. And that's where I'm at right now in Coward, and I am having a fantastic time. Hey guys, I kind of wanted to go ahead and give you a little update now that I finished reading a little bit of it. I have started Coward, and Coward follows a man named Leo, and he is a coward, believe it or not. He does a lot of illegal jobs that pay him really well, but it's not really the ideal line of work for somebody who has this immense fear of ending up in a prison cell, which Leo does. And so he leaves that world behind, or so he thinks. He's actually approached by Seymour, who was somebody that he did a job with in the past, and Seymour is now a crooked cop, and he is really in need of Leo's mind, because Leo is able to spot inconsistencies and holes in plans, and he really needs that for this job. He thinks Leo is like the best man for this job, and he's really adamant that Leo help him. And we see Leo refuse at first, but we get a deeper look into Leo's home life and his financial living, and we're very much early on knowing that Leo is gonna go ahead and take this job because he is poor and he needs to help his father. So we are right now I am in the planning of the job that they are trying to do. So Leo is planning on how they're gonna do this job. He's just like the planner, and yeah, I'm having a really good time with this right now. I think the characters that Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips create are just they just have this layer to them, every character, that is just so perfect that I love reading. And yeah, I'll go ahead and keep you guys updated when I either finish this book or if I have anything else I want to go ahead and let you guys know. And I'm just really excited to finally start this deluxe version, and I'm happy that you are here with me while I read it. So yeah, I'll let you guys know if there's anything else I want to add while I'm reading it. So hey guys, so I wanted to share with you really quickly this one scene in Coward that I think summarizes Leo's character perfectly. So everybody views him as a coward, and right here we get a little bit of him explaining why he'd rather be viewed as a coward than just anything else, and that's because of his fear of going to prison. And I think that's really fitting to get this scene in an Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips story, because like I said, they just go so deep with their characters and not everything is as it seems, and I really love that.
I'm over him. I just wish he was over me. Just look at these texts.
Okay, hey guys, I have officially finished the first book, Coward, and I absolutely loved it. I'm not sure where my last update left off on, but I believe I told you guys that they had this plan to steal some diamonds, but it turned out that they actually weren't diamonds they were stealing. It was some substances. And while they are going through with well, what Leo thinks is stealing diamonds, he actually gets double crossed by somebody who is also on that team, and they essentially want Leo to take the fall. And as I mentioned before, he's a coward, so he runs away, but they were actually counting on that. They wanted him to run away and they wanted him to leave, but what they weren't counting on is for him to take what they were planning on stealing. So when he does that, he sets off this chain of, I guess, like a chain reaction of people just hunting him down and looking for him for different reasons. And I really loved it. He ends up getting away with one girl that it is clear that he has always kept at arm's length, but he has a soft spot for. And I really loved their story, but I also really loved how Leo was showing slowly who he really is and what he's really scared of, and I really loved that. And I think Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips did a great job with this first one, Coward, and I really love it. So yeah, I'm gonna be starting Lawless. That's the next story in here, and I am really excited. So yeah, that's my update. Okay guys, I am officially in the second book, Lawless, and so far from what I've read, we are following a man named Tracy, and he is coming back home to investigate the murder of his younger brother Ricky. So right now we found him in the undertow. He's made his way there, and we actually get our first look at Angie, and she was a little girl from the first book that Leo had saved, and I guess they just kind of have taken her in to the undertow, and I thought that was really interesting to come across. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now, so I'll keep you guys updated on anything else. I just have a little update for you. I have officially started Lawless, which is the second story in the criminal universe, and I am having a really good time with it. I'm having an excellent time. Also, I'm so sorry, there's a little printer right here that's like printing away, so I'm hoping that my voice is a little louder than it is in normal videos and clips, because it drives me insane when I'm editing and I sound like a little mouse. I promise you that's not my intention. I just don't really know how to speak loudly, so I'm sorry. But yeah, okay, I digress. And Lawless follows Tracy, and he is a soldier, or was a soldier, and now he's back in town to investigate his younger brother's murder. And his younger brother, he was with a not good crowd. He fell in with the wrong people when Tracy had left away to the army, and so now that Tracy is back, he's riddled with a lot of guilt, you could see, because he didn't really want to leave his brother, but it was either joining the army or being placed in like I believe it was like a workforce. They gave him two options, so he chose the army, and he left his brother, but it ultimately wasn't his choice, but he still feels that immense guilt. And so now that he found out that his brother was murdered while he was away, he's back and he is investigating, and he's seeing who the people that his younger brother was hanging around with are and what role they played in his death. He's kind of already set the verdict in his mind. He knows that, or he thinks he knows that these people like played a role in Ricky's murder. That's his younger brother, and he's just kind of figuring out how he's going to kill them. That's what it's looking like so far in the story. Trying to infiltrate the crowd that his brother was in, but he's making it look like he's trying to help them with this one job that they have lined up, and he needs like a reference so they know that he's all good and he's like not a narc. And so he goes to visit someone in prison, and that person is Leo. You guys do not know how hard I was smiling when I found out Leo was actually alive. I thought it was really fun to see that he ended up behind, I guess like fun isn't the right word, but I think it was really interesting to see how he didn't get his happy ending, but it wasn't as worse of an ending as it could have been regarding all the stuff he pulled in Coward. And I really think it's very interesting how him and Tracy knew each other in the past. And I thought it was really interesting to find out that Leo was actually alive, because in the first story I wasn't sure. It kind of left off on him bleeding off, so you know, you kind of assume like, hey, he's gone, but he's not gone. He's actually in the second one, but he's just behind bars, which really does suck, because that was like his worst fear all along, was ending up in a 4x5 prison cell. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Tracy definitely is an interesting character. I think the flashbacks that we get when he and Ricky are younger are very intriguing, because we see the dynamic that they played into each other's lives. So here is an example of what I was talking about regarding Tracy and Ricky's dynamic. When they were younger, their father was abusive, and we see that Ricky doesn't really want to shoot pigeons off of a rooftop. Tracy, he doesn't feel any remorse, but I think it's more of a survival instinct, because he knows what would happen if he doesn't do what his father is asking. Whereas Ricky is really sad, and he is not feeling well after shooting his first pigeon. And I think this is like an essential part in Tracy's story of how he always felt he needed to protect Ricky, and how he ultimately feels let down and riddled with a whole bunch of guilt because he wasn't there for Ricky in his time of need. But it really wasn't his fault. He didn't have a choice regarding him leaving. So yeah, really interesting. I don't know why this part kind of reminds me of like Sam and Dean from Supernatural. Just like the older protective brother, the younger sensitive brother. It's always so fascinating to read about siblings in stories, because you get to see like how when people are both raised under the same roof, they could turn out completely different. And I don't know, I always find that fascinating. That's where I'm at right now with Lawless, and I'm having a really good time, especially being subtly reintroduced to some characters that were in Coward. I really like how Angie is actually, she was taken in by the Undertow gang family, and how she's like a little like waitress, but everybody there respects her and they know not to mess with her. She's still like a really young child actually, so that's like weird, but I don't know. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying this story so far. I think it's an excellent addition to what Coward had built up to, and yeah, I can't wait to see where the rest of this falls and where it goes, because I'm having like a really good time reading it. So I just wanted to let you guys know, and yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So one more thing I wanted to talk about before I forget is how Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips definitely know how to create a badass female character. And I don't know, they just have this way of not making the women that they have in their stories like not follow the men or just agree with the men. like I've seen so many times in comic books. I really like how the women hold their own and they're not afraid to push back, whether the male character is the main character or a side character. I've noticed it a lot, and continuing in the criminal universe, I love how it's a continuous thing of badass female characters created. So yeah, I really love that. Okay guys, I am officially on the last section of Criminal Volume 1, and it's going to be The Dead and the Dying. And The Dead and the Dying are actually 3 stories. They're interlinking from the 70s, and I'm just going to go ahead and give you a quick recap of what I've read so far. And yeah, because I'm already going to wrap it up, so just going to give you what I've read. So the first story is going to be Second Chance in Hell, and we start off the story in this beautifully drawn field. I really love the artwork in this first page. I cannot stop thinking about it. So yeah, these follow 2 men, and they are Cleveland and Walter Hyde. It's pretty apparent Cleveland feels wronged and plans to shoot Walter, but Walter makes a deal with him, and they are going to take out their old team and take over the business. And they are basically cleaning house so they can take over, and they succeed. They succeed so much to the point where their sons actually grow up together. And their sons are going to be Sebastian and Gnarly. I see Gnarly referred to in this comic as Jake, but when I looked it up, his name is Gnarly. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and call him that. So the rest of the story is actually told from Gnarly's point of view. Follow Gnarly as he remembers his life as a pro boxer and falls for the same girl as Sebastian. He harbors this immense guilt because, feeling loyal at the time to Sebastian, he steps aside to let Sebastian have his chance with the girl. Danica is such a tragically written character, and I wish I could go in and protect her. So something awful happens between Sebastian and Danica, and Gnarly feels responsible for how Danica's life has panned out. And it's just this amazing story. He has this nostalgic way of retelling his life that is so heartbreaking and sad. And you just really feel like you're with him in the time that he's talking about all the mistakes he's made and how he views he shouldn't have been as loyal to Sebastian as he was, and how it essentially ruined other people's lives. Yeah, I really like this one. I thought it was so amazing to really get an inside look into the undertow from the 70s. So, yeah. We also see how Sebastian and Gnarly have a falling out, and how Sebastian isn't really a bad guy. He is more so of a creation of his father's horrendous personality and character. So yeah, the one thing that Ed Brubaker really does well is he doesn't make his characters one side. Like, they are two-dimensional characters that have so many flaws, and we really get to see how they get to where they are in their life, and you really could empathize with them even though they're not really doing the right things or how people would view the right things. So yeah, that's gonna be A Second Chance in Hell, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was this really great story, and I really like how it is loosely connected to the next two stories, and just seeing how it's starting off is just really a really great treat. So yeah, that's gonna be A Second Chance in Hell. Next story we have in The Dead and the Dying is gonna be A Wolf Among Wolves, and I was really surprised to find out that this story is actually gonna follow Teague's Lawless, and he is the father of Ricky and Tracy from the previous stories, and this one was such a trip. So this is obviously following Teague's Lawless, and it starts off when he returns home from the war in 1972, and it's pretty clear that he's suffering from war anxiety and emotional numbness, and he ends up dealing with those problems in really destructive ways. And while he is drinking at the Undertow, he finds out that Barber is asking about him and he wants to meet up with him. And Barber is somebody that he had owed money to before he left to the war, and I believe it was like $2,000, and he obviously doesn't have that, but Barber says, hey, you left, so I charged you interest, so now you owe me actually $15,000.
Hello, Rue. You owe me money.
And obviously he doesn't have $15,000, so he tries to come up with it because Barber actually does threaten to kill his family, which are his two sons and his wife. And we know from the previous stories that Tracy and Ricky grow up to be adults, so we know Teagues has succeeded in getting the money. So finding out how is obviously the story. So he starts to rob liquor stores and gas stations, and that doesn't get him much. It actually gets him a few $100s, but that's nothing compared to the $15,000 that he needs. So he ends up hearing about this job from the Undertow of, I guess, a gang that is collecting money or something like that. So he has to go ahead and get in on this job, obviously, to pay Barber, and he assembles a crew, and that actually does include Danica from the previous story. And here we actually see Tracy and Ricky when they were younger, and we see obviously Teagues a little freaked out because he's like, oh my god, like I gotta save my kids. And so Danica is in on the job as well as a couple of other people, and they actually do succeed in capturing the money. So when Teagues goes to give the money to Barber, Barber actually doesn't accept it. He's like, hey, I do not want this money, like get it away from me. And Teagues is like, what are you talking about? This is the money that I owe you. And he's like, do you know any idea of who you stole this money from? And he's like, no. And Barber actually tells him, you stole Hyde's money. And if you guys don't know, that's from the previous story. And he's actually really scared about it. So he goes around to collect the money from the people he did the job with. And he does assemble the money again. But unfortunately, we see how Danica trusted him. But unfortunately, she had met her fate. And so he collects all the money and he goes to give it to Sebastian Hyde. And Sebastian accepts it, but he tells him that you're actually going to work for me now. I paid your debt for Barber, and basically like, now you're my employee. So yeah, this was Lawless's story, and I really enjoyed it. I think what's really interesting to me about this story, specifically his character, is just getting an inside look on how he obviously essentially ruined his son's lives because he just wasn't a good father, and just seeing how he came to be in that state, and just like this overall really difficult person to be around, and seeing how he just really did care only about himself, it seemed like. But it just seemed like the few people, like his sons, that he did care about, he was, I guess, always, even at a young age, putting them in so much danger. So yeah, I really enjoyed this story. I think it was just, like I said, a really interesting way to get an inside look on Ricky and Tracy's father, and just to see how he came to be. So yeah, I'm officially on the last story, and that is, it looks like it's going to be Danika's story, and that's Female of the Species. I really am enjoying the like cover art and like the title page before I go into the actual story. So I really enjoy reading and looking at those. So yeah, I think my next update is going to be my last update. I do plan on reading the acknowledgements and I believe he wrote like an essay or something like that in the back. I do plan on reading that just to get like a little inside look on how he felt about creating Criminal. I really enjoy reading those. So yeah. Alright guys, last entry of my Criminal vlog. So I just wanted to go ahead and give you my closing thoughts. But before I do that, I kind of want to show you something really cool. It's my Shelley Duvall mug that my sister had gifted me for my birthday. It's one of my favorite mugs. I never have it in any of these videos because I have taken it to work. That dreadful place deserves some happiness from me, which is this mug. And yeah, I just wanted to drink my tea out of it while I talk about my closing thoughts. Alright, so the last story that was in volume 1 was Female of the Species, and that was Danika's story. It was so heartbreaking. We essentially see how her life had panned out after what had happened with Sebastian and Gnarly, and how she ultimately met her fate. I already knew how her story was going to end, but just seeing what had become of her over the years after what happened to her was still so sad to see. It was so tragic. I just wanted to go in there and protect her, but so sad. I already knew what happened to her, but just seeing the steps that led her to her fate it was sad. So I know mostly these stories are read like a tragedy, and I believe that is why they are so compelling to read, because Ed Brubaker gave these characters their own motivations and feelings, and I think that's why it makes it so compelling, because you're able to empathize so much with them and why they take the turns they take in their story. Then add Sean Phillips' rough and gritty artwork that just make the story all the more better, and I love that. I completely fell in love with volume 1 for so many reasons: the writing, the stories, the characters, the empathy that you get for the characters. But what I really loved about volume 1 was just being so interested in the characters and what happens to them, whether it's good or bad. It was just so captivating and I loved it. So one after Danika's story, we get some really cool features. We get this cover gallery that I really loved. Let me go ahead and show you guys some covers. This is one of my favorite covers. That's cover 2 for Criminal. Ooh, I really love this one as well. I think they're all really great, but I'm gonna show you guys my favorite. Here's this cool one with Leo. Ooh, and Greta, she was one of my favorite characters. Okay, so that's the cover gallery. These are some of my favorites. And then after the cover gallery, we get a Criminal trailer, which never heard of, but it's really a cool concept. Ed Brubaker suggested that they do it, and it's basically a movie trailer for a comic book. And he suggested that they do it to promote Criminal when it had come out. Really cool. So you get like a little look at what he was aiming for when he had just started writing Criminal. A couple of things are different, but overall the concept is the same, which I really admire, because he really had a vision and he stuck with it. So the little odds and ends were sorted out. And then after that, we get a cool little feature, Caught in the Undertow by Jake Gnarly Brown. I really enjoyed reading that. It's basically a little snippet that Ed Brubaker provides us and how he came up with Undertow. So really cool. We get some more covers, which I really love. I like how like a lot of these artworks didn't go to waste, because they're in this deluxe vision. Then after that, we get a No One Writes for Free, and it's a Criminal Admission by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, so it's another little story. And then we get The Process, and that is how Sean Phillips essentially creates his artwork. So I was kind of curious about that, like whether Ed Brubaker's story comes first or how they collaborate and what their like work technique is. And I kind of got a couple of answers. So it seems like the first thing he says he does is the cover, and Ed Brubaker kind of provides him with some snippets of how he wants the story to pan out and what he really wants to be created for the story, like the art. And yeah, I really like this because it shows Sean Phillips and I believe his wife, and they took a picture to get like some inspiration for Greta and Leo. And I really like that. I love seeing the sketches and kind of his idea and his vision for what he was trying to do. And then after that, we get an afterword from Ed Brubaker, and I really loved reading this because I think it's really cute how he thinks his wife doesn't remember. So there was one time where his wife had asked him long ago, and she was like, if you didn't have to worry about publishers or editors, what would you write? And that morning he actually started writing Criminal, which I thought was so cute. And then we get little biographies for Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, and Van Staples. So yeah, just little autobiographies of it. My camera is not focusing, so yeah, just trust that their biographies are there. Yeah, so I really enjoyed Criminal. I really like the characters. I love the stories. I'm definitely gonna start volume 2. I just don't know when. But I really enjoyed this. I thought it was just a really fun read, and I'm glad that I was able to record some of my thoughts and feelings. Some of these stories were a little short, so I didn't really have much to say about them. I was just really enjoying them, but yeah. So this has been my Criminal vlog, and I just want to thank you guys all for watching, and for those who have recommended this so heavily, thank you a lot. I really appreciate it because this is like a masterpiece to me and I really enjoyed it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope you are drinking the best coffee, the best tea, and reading the best books. So